Hey everybody, this is Charles Blair, the Mad Scientist, with one of my favorite type of presentations to give, and that's an actual live case study. Now, truth be told, I haven't done a case study webinar in probably a good maybe 3-4 months, so maybe a little bit rusty. I got a certain format that I like to go through, but hopefully you guys will get a boatload of content, a boatload of actionable items, but most importantly, an inside look of exactly how I'm doing it in my real estate business. And hopefully, by having that little peep inside, you can apply some of these strategies and tools and resources that we're doing in your business. That's my overall goal, is to help you be successful. One of my goals of the year that I set out when we make those New Year resolutions, my goal for one of the goals I had for this year was to help 1,000 investors get their first deal or get a deal. That's one of my goals for this year. And I'm going to be putting on a lot of presentations, a lot of events, real deal meetup, and so on to achieve that goal. And hopefully, I'll have you as one of the testimonials of helping 1,000 investors achieve success in real estate this year. So let's get to the presentation. This presentation was festered from a case study of 3 properties that we got under contract in the last 5 days ago, last 5 days, but it took 3 days to get these properties under contract. And the case study is how we got 3 properties worth $356,000 in 3 days with 3 pieces of paper and $120. That's right. So I'm going to show you exactly how we did it in my business and how you can do it in yours. Now, what is my company? My real estate company is Chucky Buy Lucky Houses. A lot of you know me from my mastermind program. Some of you also know me from my meetup group, and some of you know me from my marketing company. But today's presentation is all about the real estate investing company, and that is Chucky Buy Lucky Houses. Now, this company has 4 DBAs, 4 divisions in it. So division number 1 is Chucky Buys More. That's the company that we use when we come to buying properties from sellers and so on, buying properties from different type of entities. Next company is Chucky Sells More. That's the company that we use when we sell real estate, when we sell deals and so on. Then we have Chucky Pays More. Chucky Pays More is my company that I have that revolves around working with wholesalers, working with bird doggers. They send us lead, we joint venture, we buy properties from wholesalers and bird doggers and so on. And last but not least is my latest one, or my newest one, it's Chucky Turnkeys More. And that company deals with turnkey rental properties, rent to own properties, and so on. So those are the 4, I like to say, divisions inside of Chucky Buy Lucky Houses. Now, the deal that we're talking about is broken down into 6 different modules. The first one is what we call the details. So here's the details that we use in place in my business in order to control properties. Now, I'm going to break it down on a level where you can understand this for a single type of business entity, meaning you're wearing all the hats. But I'm going to also break it down whereas if you want to have a business where you have other individuals working for you in your business. So the deals that come in our process begin with a seller questionnaire. And let me show you exactly the one that we use. It's right here, drop dead simple. Many of you guys have seen this before. I've talked about this seller questionnaire. If you don't have it, let me know. Just type in the questionnaire box, or should I say in the question box, just leave your email address and I'll be happy to send you this questionnaire that we use. And the key point to this questionnaire is the fact that it allows us meaning my team, my lead managers, my acquisition officers, my project manager, in order to look at one deal, we're able to decide based on looking at this one sheet, or what we call our lead sheet, decide what type of deal we should be doing with this property by way of the exit. So the most important part of your business is going to begin with the seller questionnaire. And you want to have something that is very comprehensive, very detailed, that's going to basically cover all of your spots. Because the key to this process is getting as much detail from that seller as possible. If you don't have the numbers, if you don't have the motivation, if you don't have the information, you don't have the deal. So you need to get as much information with your paperwork, but this is what we use in order to get the detailed information from our sellers. Now, we also use what we have online with our Podio system. So if we're using paper, we would use this if we're out somewhere at a workshop or something, we're talking to people and we're getting information about a deal. But generally what we'll do is we'll log into our account, or we'll pick up our web form and fill the web form out online and get that information that way. Let's move on to the next part. You have to think of a deal by way of two main sectors. Section number one, you have the motivation. And what I mean by the motivation, I'm talking about that seller's desire to sell, that seller's motivation. What's behind the seller's mind when it comes to selling that property? This is where most investors drop the ball, because most investors don't dig deep. What they do is they let the seller control the process as opposed to the investor controlling the process. And here's what I mean. If I'm going to ask a seller, Mr. Seller, why are you selling? And the seller comes back to you with the answer, I plan on moving. And then you move to the next question, you just lost control of the negotiation process. Because you, as the investor, should be drilling down to the level of pure need. You want to find out the actual need that that seller has when it comes to that property. This is how I would do it. Mr. Seller, why are you selling? Because I plan on moving. If you don't mind me asking, when do you plan on moving? Well, I plan on moving in 3 months. Well, what's going to happen if you don't move in 3 months? I'm just going to have to lose my property because I got a down payment on another property that I'm trying to buy. Did you see how I drilled down to as low as I could get in that process to find out the bottom line motivation behind that seller? You have to do this with every lead that comes in. You cannot lose control of the process. Now, from the motivation, we go to the numbers. There are 5 important numbers that matter. The most important numbers that you will ever get that will allow you to determine what exit strategy to use. And most investors, and I do mean this, most investors fail at knowing these 5 numbers. And there's a good reason why you want to have these 5 numbers. And that reason is it's going to help you determine what exit strategy to use. Listen to me again. In order to be a transaction engineer and not a one-trick pony, you need to know multiple exit strategies based on what's in front of you with that deal. Number 1, what is the after repair value or comps? That's the first number that counts that you need to know. Why? Because when you know the comps, you know the after repair value, you know what properties that are rehabbed are selling for in that area. Now you can base what the seller price is, meaning what they want to sell for, into what your offer price should be so that you can make a profit. Number two, you want to know the repair costs. What exactly will it cost for my end buyer to put the property in the condition of my after repair value comps? Because that's all we're thinking about. If I'm going to wholesale this or if I'm going to rehab this, how much is it going to cost my end buyer, or how much is it going to cost me to put that property in after repair value condition? Number three, the price. Now, some sellers will give you an asking price of what they're asking for their property, while others will say, I don't know. You tell me. I wasn't thinking about selling until you got your letter. I wasn't thinking about selling until I got your call. I don't know, frankly, how much I want for the property. That's fine. That's absolutely okay, because your due diligence is going to produce an offer. Not all sellers is going to have a number to give you, but quite a few will. Not to mention, experienced investors know that he who speaks price first usually loses in the instance of the seller. So get the price, factor in repair costs, after repair value. Next, what matters, the numbers that count, is the mortgage balance. When I have a mortgage balance, I can think creativity. I can think more like a transaction engineer. Now I can go into buying and holding. I can go into subject to. I can go into all cash offers. I can go into wholesale deal. I can go into all these different mindsets, all these different concepts of buying that property. Last but not least of the numbers that count, the mortgage payment. With the mortgage payment, now I can take over the property. Now I can structure payments. Now I can go into tenant placement. Now I can do rent to owns. So having all five of these numbers gives me the opportunity to create 6, 7, 8 different exit strategies. That's the key. I don't want any of you guys to be a one-trick pony. That's what I teach my students. Don't be that only a wholesaler, only a rehabber, only a buy and hold investor. Yes, I want you to master a strategy, but then I want you to understand how you can make money on all those other strategies that you haven't mastered. And then eventually add more tools to your toolkit so that you're not only doing wholesaling, but you're also doing rehabbing, and you're also doing rent to owns. You're also doing subject to. You're also exercising short sales. You're also doing buy and hold investing. You have all of these different tools in your toolkit that you can make and monetize your business success. That's the ideal transaction engineer. Now let's go over the paperwork that we've used in these deals. Now, a mentor of mine, a gentleman by the name of Peter Fortunato, he once said, opportunities are found, deals are made. That's all we're talking about here. These 3 deals that I'm focusing on right now are all deals that were made from opportunities, from concepts, from exit strategies, from having multiple thoughts of how to close the transaction, how to make money off of the transaction. I've said time and time again, as a real estate investor, as a transaction engineer, we don't get paid by hour, we get paid by thought. That's the key. Think creatively. Opportunities are found, but deals are made from your creativity, from your thoughts. When you put together a deal, you're putting together the paperwork. Truth be told, you really don't need any kind of fancy paperwork to do the deal, to put it under contract, because there's only 6 main elements to any real estate contract. That's right. It's 6 main elements. That's all that required to have a legal and binding contract. Sure, you can have additional terms and addendums and so on and so on and so on. But as long as it has 6 elements that I'm about to break down, you have a contract. You could literally write a contract on a napkin as long as it contained these 6 elements. Element number 1, who? Who are the parties involved in the sales contract? John Smith, Michael Smith, Greg, trustee home buyer, yada, yada, yada. Who are the parties involved in this contract? Number 2, what? There has to be a subject matter. For example, the legal description or the address of the property, preferably both legal description and address. That's the what. As long as you have the who and the what, you have beginning stages of a contract. Number 3, how much? You must define the details and the subject matter of how you are paying, when you are paying, and how you're paying for it. It's not rocket science. Number 4, terms and closing instructions. When are you paying and how are you paying? Number 5, the when. This includes the closing date and the contract date. And last but not least, acknowledgement. The signature of all parties. That, my friend, as long as you have those 6 elements on your napkin, in your paperwork, whatever you want to write it on, you have a legal and binding contract. I've said this time and time again. This business is not rocket science. If a 9th grade dropout can do it, so can you. Now, remember, if you have any questions, put them in the question box. I'll be taking those questions and answering those questions by the end of the actual presentation. And I'll be on this presentation as long as I'm able to go. And as long as you're willing to stay here, I'll answer all of your questions. So don't worry about it. The fact that I haven't answered any questions so far, I will, by time the actual presentation is over, get to your questions. Now, by the way, is this good information? Are you guys getting good information? I want to hear from you. Mad Science, is this good information? I like what I'm hearing. Yes, 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 yes. If I'm hearing a no, I'm going to kick you out of the webinar. No, I'm just joking. But if you like the information, the flow that we're getting right now, let me know. I want to hear from you. Thank you, Rex. Awesome. Great. Perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's continue. The paperwork continues. This is one of the many contracts that we used in these transactions that I'm talking about today. this contract is used as a way to exit out of deals when you're doing multiple exit strategies. It's a simple 3-page contract. And remember, we talked about the elements where you have the actual who, what, where, and how, and so on. On this one page, you have 3, 4 of those elements right here on this one page. Now, this section right here is the one that I want you to really pay attention to. And the reason why I'm saying you should pay attention to this middle section is because where it says total purchase price to be paid and from A to G, that section will allow you to buy this property or, in the sake of what we're doing, control the property for multiple exit strategies. With this one section, you can do a subject to, you can do an owner finance deal, you can do a straight wholesale deal, you can do a straight purchase deal. All of those different things are broken down in this one section here. And this is the exact same contract that I've used for the last 20 years. Now, of course, I've made amendments, of course, I've made addendums and so on to the contract. But this contract is gold. Now, my option to purchase contract. This is the contract that I used on all 3 of those deals that we're spotlighting today. It's a simple 1-page contract. And this 1-page contract allowed me to control over $356,000 worth of real estate for only $130. What is an option agreement or an option contract? Simply put, it's a contract that gives the optionee the right to perform or not. For example, as the optionee, meaning myself, I'm able to tell the seller, I'm going to give you $10 for consideration because I want to make this contract a binding contract. And normally for a binding contract, there has to be some type of monetary contribution. So the monetary contribution I'm giving the seller is $10. And for that monetary contribution, you're going to give me the right to buy your property in X amount of days for a set price. Listen to the word, the option to buy. And it also states that if I don't perform, meaning if I don't buy the property in X amount of days, what you get to keep is my earnest deposit. In the case of the 3 deals I'm going to spotlight today, that earnest deposit on one of the deals was $100. And on the other 2 deals, it was $10 each. That's right. Only $10 each. So that's a total of $120 that I pulled out of my hip pocket. It hurt. I got to tell you, I hate giving out money to secure my interest on those 3 properties. Now, law states when you have a property under contract, you have what's called an equitable interest. And that equitable interest can be sold for a profit. And that's exactly what we did here. We're allowed that property based on that equitable interest in that property by way of our contract to sell the right to buy that property. Now, why did I use the option agreement as opposed to my simple 3-page contract that I have here? Simple. I'll tell you why. Because on all 3 of these deals, my team told the seller that we are going to be marketing this property. We have no intention of buying it, and we're going to find a buyer for you on these properties. You heard me right. I actually told the seller that I had no intentions of buying it. That's right. So you don't have to hide the fact that you may or may not buy the property. You don't have to sneak in an "and" or a "sign" clause and hope that the seller doesn't see it. Or even worse, lie to the seller and say, yes, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, I'm going to buy your property. And then when you can't find a buyer, you're going to go ahead, oh, we couldn't get financing. Oh, we couldn't get approval. We found this wrong with the property. We're using some kind of escape clause that we learned out of some 5th grade book on real estate investing. The option contract solves all of that without any issues. That's why I love the option contract. If you guys want a copy of my option contract, put your email address in the question box, and I will make sure you get a copy of it. Now, let's continue. The key to closing those 3 deals were the follow-up. The key to closing deals in anybody's business is the follow-up. And let me show you how we do it. We have 3 main things that we use. Number 1 is my credibility kit. And let me show you what that looks like. So when I first engage a seller, the first thing I'm going to do is give that seller my credibility kit. And it breaks down my company. It tells them who we are. It introduces them to my family. It tells them how we can help them with their property, how we can buy on multiple ways. It even breaks down that we can get their property taken care of in the quickest times possible. It tells them the pros and cons of working with a real estate investor as opposed to working with a realtor. So you see, we want the people to understand why most people work with investors as opposed to working with realtors. And we even have testimonials from people who we've done business with. And most importantly, we have rehab projects that we can show with properties been rehabbed that we've worked with. That's the Chucky by Lucky Houses credibility kit. That's the first piece of information we give to our sellers to introduce them to our company. It's important. This separates us from almost 95% of the investors out there. Just out of curiosity, in the question box, if you have a credibility kit that you give to sellers, I want you to put in there yes. If you don't, put in there no. Yes, if you have one and you do this, no, if you don't. Oh, okay. No, 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 no kit. No, no. Oh, I got a yes here. Okay, okay. Julie has a credibility kit. Excellent. Kim has a credibility kit. So the credibility kit that we give sellers is probably one of the main reasons why we get calls 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 months later. It's because this is something that's saved. Unlike most letters and most postcards that are thrown in the trash, the credibility kit is something that they can put their hands on, they can wrap their eyes around, and they can see that this company is a company and not a fly-by-night, we buy houses people. Okay, number 2, email sequence. We have 12, I think it's about 14 sequence email campaign that goes out to every new seller up until the time they're ready to sell their property. And let me show you what that looks like. Emails go over the details of how we work with people. Has our logo on it, of course. And then it goes down into other sequences, subject lines. Save a fortune of headaches when selling your house to us. Breaks down our credibility kit as well. Did you get your cash offer? It goes on and on. Hey, did you sell that house yet? And on and on and on. That's what we call our email sequence that goes out when a person comes into our system. That's what we use. Now, number 3, call scripts. When we're negotiating and talking to sellers, this is powerful because we have call scripts for every system, or should I say for almost every lead type that we're working with based on the actual lead itself. Let me show you what I mean. As you can see right now on the screen, I'm showing you my Mojo Dollar. And the Mojo Dollar is one of the tools that we use, and we'll go over it a little bit later. But the key thing I want you to see is the scripts and forms page right here. If you click on call scripts, these are the 5 primary scripts that we use when we're calling or we're talking to a seller who has a property that we're interested in finding out if they want to sell. So let's go with the absentee owner script. And it's broken down. Let me open this up a little bit. There you go. It's broken down with the opening statement that we're saying to the actual person who we're talking to. It spells out exactly the verbiage I want to use. It also begins into the point of the lead sheet, and I'll show you what my lead sheet looks like. So it goes into the lead sheet questions and so on. And then we even have a section in our script that covers the most common objections. For example, if the seller objects to giving you their information, this is what you say. Let's see, the yada, yada, yada. If the seller objects to giving you information, you can say the following to make the seller more at ease. So you have 2 different objections that you can use to cover that objection. You also have situations where once you have all the information, you need the seller lead sheet and go into the next part of your close. So this is broken down so that anyone can be fit into my business and know what to ask on the phone call when they're talking to a seller. Not only that, but know how to get the information, because remember, I told you, the 5 key pieces of information is all you need along with the motivation. And if you can't get those 5 key pieces of information, you are setting your business up for a limited result, which means you're going to only be able to do a wholesale deal, or you'll only be able to do a rehab deal. Anything above beyond that, you're not going to be able to do, because you're not getting the detailed information that you need in order to make deals become opportunities. Let's look at each and every one of these deals, the three that we're focusing on in this case study. Number one, this is a property that we got on West Baltimore, Chargrove Avenue. Fantastic deal. We got it under contract for, I believe, $30,000. And the property, I kid you not, doesn't need maybe $5,000 worth of work at the most. $100 on the contract. This deal is a probate deal that we got under contract using the follow-up sequence that I told you guys earlier and the credibility kit and so on. This deal we're going to wind up probably rehabbing or wholesaling. I'm not sure which one yet. Actually, I am. I'm just not going to tell you yet which way we're going to go on this one. Number two, this is a turnkey rental. This property was totally rehabbed, and we structured this deal with the option contract for $10, and the properties in the area sell for about $155.50, and we got it underneath an option to buy for $110, and we're going to make about $10,000 on this one. We got a couple buyers lined up for this one already. Actually, we're going to make about $10,000 on it, and all we did was negotiate with the seller that we can option this property and move it to our buyers for $10,000 profit. That's what we're talking about. That's the secret sauce in your investing. We're talking about taking that deal to the next level, multiple exit strategies, and being able to feel the funk. Deal number three. This one is off of Teresa Court, East Baltimore. Deal number three is off of Longwood. This is another one, another totally rehab property under contract for $110, sells for about $160 in the area. Beautiful view looking over the park. And this one we're going to be putting out on the market real soon, and it doesn't need any work. That's over $356,000 worth of real estate. $10 to control this property. Don't believe the hype, guys. What I'm talking about is only being a wholesaler, only being a rehabber. Be a transaction engineer. Understand the concept of making deals. Understand the concept of structured deals. And your business will go way past everyone else's. If you're not making money right now in your business, think in terms of my knowledge. What can I do to gain more accessibility of the right information? Because there's plenty of information out there. YouTube has thousands of videos out there. Heck, on my YouTube channel alone, I got over 600 videos. But the key is putting the knowledge to use that makes sense and has the practical application for success that you can use in your real estate business. 3 deals, 3 days, $130. Sorry, $120. And we're looking at probably somewhere around $50,000 worth of profit. And I'll tell you right now, physical labor, physical work, probably 5 hours, 6 hours worth of work. Everything is through the systems, the automations that we have in place. And remember, I keep telling you guys, don't worry if you don't have a team. Everything I'm doing, I teach my students to do. I teach the people that we are consulting with to do, and they are one men and women shops. They are wearing one hat. Some of the companies we work with wear a lot of hats. They have a couple of employees and so on. But most of the people that we work with are singularpreneurs. One person. You don't need a whole team to have this kind of success. Let's get to the good part. Here are the tools that we are using. Number one, we are using Podio. Podio is my main system. I don't know if you guys seen those videos that we've used or that I put out on the internet, the top 6 inside Podio apps that I use in my business. But Podio is the beginning and start of everything that we do when it comes to our lead, contact, relationship management system. The account that I use is $24 a month. Number 2, Mojo Dollar. Mojo Dollar is what we use for all of our outbound calls and our cold calling. The plan that I use is $110 a month. So now I'm at $134 a month that I'm spending for my cold calling, for my scripting, for my lead following up, for my system. And number 3, Twilio. Twilio is the system that we use for text voice messages. Twilio is a pay-as-you-go system that we use. And at the most, I'm lucky if I'm spending $25, $30 on Podio. I'm sorry, on Twilio. So I'm spending a total on what you've just seen, a total of $175 a month. You're not breaking the bank. A couple of movies and dinner, if you skip that, you can afford this type of systems, automations, and processes. I am tired of hearing excuses. I get calls every day. There's not enough time in the day. I don't have enough money. What are you doing? Oh, I'm getting ready to go to the movies. Oh, I'm going to look at getting a new car. Oh, me and my family ready to go on vacation. Success requires sacrifice. I'm going to say it again. Success requires sacrifice. Three tools, $160 a month, $170 a month will take your business a long way. The process, last but not least, this is our process. And if you want to get a copy of this, put your email address in the actual question box. And I will also send you this image of my process. Let's go over it. Okay. It begins with the source. What is the source? The source of our leads come from offline marketing, comes from online marketing, and come from outbound marketing. So what do I call offline marketing? Direct mail, door hangers, bandit signs, so on. Online marketing, website, Facebook, Craigslist, so on. Outbound marketing, Mojo Dollar, Fizbo, expired listings, probate listings, all of which by way of calling the actual individuals. So those are the sources that we use in the business. And through those sources, they're all funneled into Podio, which includes Mojo Dollar and include our tracking numbers that we have in CallRail. So everything from sources goes straight into Podio from the other outside sources Mojo Dollar, and CallRail straight into Podio. And from that process, the seller lead workflow begins. So once the lead comes in as a seller lead, then the process is do the due diligence. Now, I'm breaking this down for a single member company. I'm not breaking this down as how I do it in my business because I have multiple people doing multiple tasks. I have a lead manager, I have a project manager, and acquisition people. But for a single business, and which I believe most of you will be, for a single business, this is your basic flow. The lead comes into your contact relationship management system. You categorize it as a seller lead. Once it's categorized, you do your due diligence on the lead, determine if there is an opportunity there so that when you call that person back, you make an offer. Whoops, let's go back. You make an offer on the property. Once you make an offer on the property, you have what's called a yes or no outcome. If you have a yes, you go to the property and inspect it. If you have a no, you put the person in a follow-up campaign. So let's, for the sake of this, say we got a yes. So we have a yes. That means go to the property, finalize the actual paperwork, prove that the property doesn't need as much work as we think it does. If it does, readjust the price that you're going to make on the offer and get the property under contract. Once it's under contract, then you basically go ahead and take it to your title company for close or market it to your buyers list so you can find a wholesale, depending on which strategy you're going to use. Now, down the bottom here, I have all the different marketing campaigns that we're doing in regards to how we're getting these deals. Actually, this is the actual outbound stuff that we're doing. It includes text messaging, voice messaging. It also includes ringless voicemail. It also includes cold calling, and it also includes the mail piece and so on. And it breaks down 12 months of what we do each month for that particular lead until it becomes a sale. So this is the breakdown of what we're doing each month for the next 12 months. The key thing here is that I've seen a huge decrease, not an overall decrease, but a significant enough decrease that we're no longer sending out 12 mail pieces a year, which would normally be somewhere around one a month. Now we're doing 4 mail pieces, and then the rest is ringless voicemail, email, text message, that, and so on, which is basically allowed me to cut my direct mail budget by 1/4. Now, please listen to what I'm saying. What I am saying is, I'm not telling you to not do direct mail. No, that's not what you're hearing. I'm telling you to strategically place your direct mail pieces amongst the other things in your business and your marketing so that you can get the best bang for your buck. That's what I'm saying. I thoroughly believe in direct mail. I love direct mail, but I've seen a shift in what's happening in our industry with the response rates of direct mail, and that shift has told me that I need to cut back on 12 to 15 mail pieces a year, and I can get exactly or more, or should I say I'm getting more deals doing it the way that I've broken it down, that my business is doing, and spending less for marketing. So I'm also breaking down the actual marketing campaigns that we're doing right here and what the actual acronyms stand for in this 12-month plan. So if you want this complete 12-month blueprint that I'm using in my business, put your email address in there, and I'll make sure you get this as well. So that, my friend, is what we've done to get those 3 deals under contract, ready to close for $120, 3 pieces of paper. And now it's up to you.